Over the weekend, an interesting report surfaced from Pelissero and Ian Rapoport, two insiders most people regard as highly credible. They brought up an intriguing situation involving Micah Parsons and Maxx Crosby, suggesting there's no guarantee either will remain with their current teams. They even hinted that Myles Garrett might not be the only star defender on the move. At first, it didn't look strange, but the more dig in and connect dots, the more you understand the situation. After considering some of Crosby's comments over the last couple of months, it raises a real question. Could Maxx Crosby actually be traded? Let's explore. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. Pelissero and Rapoport reported that sources familiar with the situation believe the long-term futures of both Parsons and Crosby are uncertain. The reasons include looming massive contract extensions and changes in coaching staffs, new regimes for both the Dallas Cowboys and the Las Vegas Raiders. When you dig into the report, it's clear the situation is more complicated than it first appears. For the Raiders in particular, it's an entirely new regime. If they were to trade Crosby, it wouldn't be for anything less than a massive return. We're talking multiple first-round picks because he's an elite player. Trading him for a lower value, like a mid-round pick, just isn't realistic. Crosby is one of the most valuable assets on the team. Even so, moving Crosby doesn't seem logical. He's one of the premier players at his position, and finding someone with his skill set isn't easy. He's arguably a top 3 or top 4 pass rusher in the league, and might be the best run defender at the position. Players like him are rare, and he's vital to what the Raiders are trying to build. What makes this situation even more compelling is Crosby's own comments. He's mentioned multiple times over the past couple of months that he's looking for a new contract. Maxx Crosby has been dropping hints about his contract situation, not just once but multiple times on his own podcast and on others. He's mentioned it at least 3 or 4 separate times, making it clear that the contract is something on his mind. While it hasn't reached the point where he's threatening to hold out or demanding a trade like Myles Garrett, it's not out of the question that it could escalate to that level eventually. Crosby hasn't said he'll sit out or request a trade, but it wouldn't be shocking if he decided at some point that he wouldn't play another season without a new deal. And honestly, Crosby has every reason to want a new contract. Looking at his current deal, there's a lot of room for maneuvering on both sides. The Raiders, for instance, could technically release him today and only take a $10.2 million dead cap hit. Considering Crosby's importance to the team, that number is shockingly low. It also shows that his current contract puts him in a vulnerable position. For the Raiders, that $10.2 million cap hit is tied to past guarantees, not future money. This means Crosby doesn't have any guaranteed money left in his deal. That's a tough spot for a player of his caliber, especially considering how elite pass rushers are paid. While his deal averages $23.5 million per year, it's significantly lower than what the top guys in the league are getting. For comparison, Nick Bosa is making around $34 million annually. And when Myles Garrett signs with a new team, his next contract could push toward $36 or $37 million per year. Once Micah Parsons signs his inevitable extension, the market will shift again, and Maxx Crosby will likely be looking to reset his value as well. If I were the Raiders, locking in Maxx Crosby with a new deal right now would be the smartest move. Signing him today would likely cost somewhere between $31 to $35 million annually, which is expensive but still cheaper than it will be once players like Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons secure their new contracts. Acting sooner rather than later would save the team money in the long run. If the Raiders' decision makers, John Spytek and Pete Carroll, start seeing Crosby as more valuable in terms of trade assets rather than as a cornerstone player, it could lead to some tough decisions. They might feel that younger players like Tyree Wilson could develop in a new system, or that someone like Malcolm Kuntz could step up. Still, letting Crosby go would be a huge mistake. He's an elite player, and players like him are hard to replace. That said, I understand why Crosby is pushing for a new contract, and why insiders like Ian Rapoport and Pelissero believe there's a real possibility he might not stay. We've also got an interesting report regarding the Tennessee Titans and the 2025 NFL Draft. Apparently, the Titans are open to trading the #1 overall pick. Both Adam Schefter and Ian Rapoport have confirmed this, stating that while it's still early in the process, there's a real chance the Titans could move that pick. For teams like the Raiders, this raises the possibility of trading up to secure the top quarterback in this draft class. If you're the Raiders and looking at your quarterback situation, making a move to draft someone like Cam Ward might seem tempting. But there's also a scenario where the Titans, who might not value the quarterbacks in this class as highly, decide to trade out of the pick. It only takes one team to see a quarterback they want badly enough to make a big trade. Meanwhile, the Titans might prefer to go after the best overall player in the class rather than a quarterback. Their general manager has even said they're focusing on the best player available, which could mean targeting someone like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Players many agree are better overall prospects than the top quarterback. From the Titans' perspective, trading the pick makes a lot of sense if another team is willing to offer multiple first-round picks. If they're not set on taking a quarterback, Why not leverage the value of that top pick and trade back? It's a smart strategy to maximize their assets. For the Raiders, though, trading up for the number 1 pick doesn't seem like the right move. Some fans have floated the idea on social media, suggesting the Raiders could pair a trade package with Maxx Crosby to secure the pick. If you're the Raiders, trading Maxx Crosby to move up to the first overall pick doesn't seem logical. You're giving up one of your most productive players, someone who's arguably the cornerstone of your defense, just to take a gamble on a quarterback. That weakens your team overall and creates more holes to fill. Some fans suggest trading multiple first-round picks along with second and third-round picks to jump up, but that's also too steep of a price. Look at teams like the Eagles. They've managed to develop a strong defensive line without overpaying or overextending themselves. Players like Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, and others were drafted in later rounds and became key contributors in big games like the Super Bowl. The Eagles have shown that success in the trenches can come from smart drafting rather than overspending or trading away too much. For the Raiders, the priority should be to focus on drafting young linemen, both offensive and defensive, and developing them. Investing in the trenches gives you consistent production without the need for massive contracts. If you constantly draft and develop, you avoid the need to pay premium prices for veterans or make desperate trades to fix weaknesses. It's a strategy that's proven to work, and it's one the Raiders should stick to, rather than making a big splash to move up in the draft. Now, there is another idea of drafting a rookie quarterback to develop, paired with a bridge quarterback like Jacoby Brissett or Justin Fields. That strategy makes a lot of sense if the Raiders don't land a top-tier quarterback prospect this year. It gives you flexibility without overcommitting to a long-term solution that might not pan out. Options like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal could work, but they're more of a short-term fix rather than a foundation. Similarly, bringing in someone like Sam Darnold on a 3-year deal at $35 million annually might not be the best use of resources. Darnold has shown flashes of potential, but he hasn't proven to be a consistent franchise-caliber quarterback. The most sensible approach, especially given the team's current state, is to focus on developing a young quarterback while continuing to strengthen the roster in other areas. If that means going with a bridge quarterback for a year or two while a rookie gets up to speed, it's a plan that can work. But the Raiders need to ensure they're setting up whoever steps in at quarterback for success by continuing to build out the offensive and defensive lines and maintaining strong foundational pieces like Maxx Crosby. The focus should be on making the team as balanced and competitive as possible, so when the time comes to make that big move for a quarterback, the rest of the roster is ready to support a deep playoff run. It's all about patience, smart drafting, and sticking to a plan that prioritizes long-term success over quick fixes. Going after a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson for a single year makes a lot more sense. These guys bring experience, leadership, and the ability to elevate the offense immediately. Pairing that with a talent like Travis Hunter at wide receiver, if the Raiders are lucky enough to land him with the 6th overall pick, could make for a dynamic offense. Add in a second-round pick for the best available guard, and suddenly the offensive line is looking more solid. Combine that with a running back picked up in the later rounds or through free agency, and the offense could be set up for success. On defense, a fully healthy squad with Maxx Crosby leading the way, and key pieces like Christian and Co returning, could be a significant force. The defensive line has already shown its potential, dominating in games when everyone was clicking. With the right roster tweaks and health on their side, the Raiders could genuinely be a playoff contender. This strategy keeps the team competitive while also leaving room to draft and develop a quarterback of the future. Whether it's someone they pick up in this draft or next year, having a strong foundation on both sides of the ball ensures that when the time comes to hand the reins to a young quarterback, they'll have the support they need to succeed. It's about balancing immediate competitiveness with a long-term vision, and this path seems to strike that balance well. On the other hand, younger quarterbacks with potential, such as Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, or Justin Fields, could provide a balance between immediate competitiveness and long-term growth. These players have shown flashes of ability and might thrive with the right coaching and system. However, they come with risks, especially if the team has to make significant roster sacrifices to accommodate their contracts. So, what do you think about this Maxx Crosby situation? Let me know in the comment section.